Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Intelligent Query webinar. My name is Lindsay Burnett, and I'm the Marketing Director here at Dynemark. Just to give you an idea of duration, it's looking around 25 minutes maximum, depending on questions at the end. Please feel free to type any questions throughout the webinar, and I will come to them at the end. So thank you all for listening. We'll get started. So this webinar is all about our Intelligent Query, which is ultimately being able to access the information we hold here at Dynemark for all the mobile numbers. So data quality, as we all know, is very important, but it's so much more than just is a number correct or does it still exist. You need to know your mobile audience to be able to profile and target those consumers. So what you need to understand is whether they are engaged with mobile or not. So basically what we're going to do is show you how Dynemark can help you achieve that within your business by using our intelligent brain. So this is an example of our intelligent brain here and all the information that it holds. So you'll see the terms flashing up around the brain. This is all the kind of information we hold here at Dynemark. So to add some perspective, as you know, we've been sending messages on behalf of companies since 2001, so we have seen an awful lot of traffic, and on average we process around 8 million transactions per day, which cover around 1,500 networks, and that's across over 155 different countries. So all the words you've seen flashing up around the brain are examples of the data we hold, which I'll explain more about when we get to that section in the presentation. So how does it work? The database on the right-hand side here is ultimately our intelligent brain, and this is where all the information is held. And as you can see, all the different types of information within there, such as location, device, messaging behavior, click-throughs, what network they're on, things like that. That's all the information we have. Your business can connect to our brain through many different ways, one of which I will show you in a demo shortly, which is just basically uploading a CSV file and running the query on your data. You can do it through automated FTP, or you can do a singular lookup if you wish. So before I do a quick demo, I'm just going to give you an example of the type of information we're going to be able to see when we go in there. We have three distinct sections. The first one being behavioural, which includes things as in their propensity to do something, so their propensity to opt out, so their stop rate, how long it takes them to respond, their percentage to click through, their time to click. Their device information is factual information actually about that device for that phone number. So their network that they're on, whether they've had a ported number, is their device web enabled, what is the operating system, etc. And those two sections there are going to be what I run the query on, so you'll be able to see some examples of that data shortly. And the last section is live, which basically sends a live ping to the phone to be able to test the phone. So is real time, live, and obviously because of that we have third-party costs that we incur. So for the purpose of this demo I won't be doing a live query. So just so you all know what that is. So I'm just going to pop out of this presentation to do the demonstration for you. Okay, so we're now in our portal. So hopefully you're familiar with what our portal looks like. Obviously this is where you access our services, such as our applications here, or to view your reporting here. Today we're going to be looking at our intelligent services. So again, just a little overview here. With the Intelligent Cloud, we have three parts, three distinct services that we offer within our Intelligent Cloud. The first one being Intelligent Tracking, which was put live in January. And we did webinars and launched those back then. They are still available online for anybody who's interested in understanding how Intelligent Tracking works. We also have Intelligent Filtering, which is being launched at the same time as Query, and we have webinars scheduled for next week. For those of you that are interested in attending those webinars, there's still time. And today we're going to be talking about intelligent query. So I'm now going to show you how we run a query. So as I said earlier, we have the option to run a single number query. You can query a data file up to 16 meg. You can actually do manual FTP folders if you use FTP folders already, or you can automatically have the query uploaded and exported back to your FTP. So we're going to set up a new query now. I'm just going to select my data file, which, just so you all know, has 20,000 numbers. So this is the section here where you select what phone format they're in. So if you were doing international numbers, you'd have selected that there. This is the section here now whereby we select which sections of the intelligent query we want run. So which behaviours. So we want behavioural information. I'm going to run it just for the default, which is for 12 months' time with a data quality threshold of poor, which just means whatever data we have, we will display. You can change that to average or good if you want a higher quality of data to be returned. And then the second one we're going to do is the device information. So now I've selected those, we can process that query. And just to give you an idea, our technical team ran a query yesterday of 1.6 million numbers and it took 7 minutes. So it does have a great scale on it to be able to get these back to you quickly. Another thing to point out on here is the retention period of all the files of 30 days. So as long as you've downloaded your report within 30 days, you'll have that locally to you or saved on your own network. If not, that file will be removed after 30 days. So once the query's been done, you have 30 days to download that query. So while that's running, I'm just going to open one that I did earlier to give you all an idea, because what I've had to do, obviously due to data protection, is remove all the mobile numbers out of the file so that they're not being shared with anybody. So to give you an idea, I've highlighted some profiles here in yellow, which I'll talk through, but firstly I'm just going to talk through all the different components within this data for you to understand what they mean. So we have overall stop rate. Overall stop rate is of how many messages they receive, what is their percentage to say stop. So that's quite straightforward. Their response stop rate is of their percentage to respond. So if they respond to 2 messages and say stop to one of them, then they would have a 50% response stop rate. Their overall expletive rate is the percentage of messages they send expletives in. And then their response expletive rate is of what percentage of their responses contain expletives. Sends expletives is basically just a true or false, so they do or they don't. Their overall positive rate is the percentage of positive responses, and the same here. And then we have the average response time in minutes. We then have, based on our intelligent tracking, which we launched back in January, as I said, we have the click-through rate. So the percentage of URLs that have been sent within their messages, how many times have they clicked through, their average time to click through, and then we have the country code of that mobile, which these are all UK numbers I loaded, so they're all UK numbers. The last known active, so the last time we know that mobile number was active. The last considered dead, so when we've been advised that that number no longer exists. If they used a premium service, such as ringtone downloads or something that they've texted into a premium shortcode or something like that. The last time they used a actual marketing shortcode, so whether that's been something they've seen at point of sale or bus stop or magazine, print, something like that. The operating system, so are they an Android user, Windows user, iOS, etc. And then their operating system name, so that takes you down even within the kind of Android family or to the different types of devices that there are. Is that device a web-enabled smartphone? their mobile network, if that's something people are interested in, and their last observed location, so currently where are they, and how many countries have we tracked them in during the duration we've run the data for. So this data was a 12-month period, so these numbers here, this is how many countries they've been tracked in since that period of time, so those 12 months we've run the data for. So that's all the data we have available. I'm just going to go back to the beginning and wait for that to catch up. So if we take a look at this first line here, you can see that they have an overall stop rate of 0, so that means they don't say stop, which is great. They don't send expletives, but they have an overall response rate of 100. So that means they respond positively to 100% of the messages that they receive. And they respond within 5 minutes. So that's really good. And they have a click-through rate of 100%. So again, every URL that they're sent, they're clicking through and going on the journey that you're ultimately trying to get them to. Their average click-through time is quite high, but that could be skewed if they're clicking links more than once. And we also have the information that, we talked about earlier. And then here we can see that it's a Windows device and they're on the O2 network. So that gives you a bit of an idea on that person. This is somebody we would profile and we kind of call here at Dynemark a fan. So anybody who's read our mobile intelligence review will understand what these profiles are. If you haven't read the report, it's not too late. It's still available to download on our website under our white paper section, or you can contact us from the contact details I'll have on the final slide, and we'll be able to send you one out in the post. But basically, our mobile intelligence review shows how you can use this data to segment or profile your customers based on their behaviours. So that customer there would be someone we'd say is a fan, somebody who responds very positively to mobile messaging, and somebody, if you were looking to target and receive a high ROI on a campaign, this would be somebody you would kind of profile and go after. So on the other end of the scale, we have an example below here. This customer, so they have 100% stop rate, which means they opt out of all of their messages that they receive. They only ever send a response if it's to opt out. So this person really doesn't like messaging at all. They don't swear though, so they're not angry. They just know that they're not interested in receiving these communications. And again, something that's quite interesting here is that they respond really quickly. So it takes them 17 minutes on average from receiving a message to respond stop. So they know what they like and what they don't like. They don't want to be receiving these messages, so they respond quite quickly to say, don't send me any more messages. So that's an example of somebody who we would kind of say is unreceptive, and therefore potentially not going to damage your brand, but someone that you don't really want to send to if they're going to opt out. It's a waste of a message when you could be sending it to people who would be engaged. So to take it even one step further, we have the third person who I've highlighted here. So they have a 75% overall stop rate with 100% response stop rate. And they do send expletives. So this is an example of somebody who is opting out and using expletives within their responses. They're quite angry. They're somebody that potentially, even after you've opted them out, will still continue to complain to you, whether it be by email or letter. And they probably, will tell their friends that they're annoyed with you and damage your brand. So this is somebody we call an aggressor here at Dynemark. And we would recommend that these kind of people you don't message. They don't like receiving messages. It makes them very angry, and they'll probably damage your brand and cause you problems down the line. So really, if you can avoid sending messages to these people, we would suggest doing that. The other thing is, again, 60 minutes on average it takes for them to respond. So again, quite quick. Within an hour of receiving every message, they're telling you they don't want any more in a not so nice friendly way. So please, we would recommend that those guys don't get sent any messages. So this gives you an idea of the data you have. Another thing we talked about, which we say isn't the most important, but obviously is very important, is the quality of your data. So to give you an example, I put 20,000 numbers through this query, and if we just do a little count here, we can see that 5,679 were last considered dead at some point. So these numbers no longer exist, or these people are no longer on that same number. So that just gives you an idea that over a quarter of my data here that I've put through, the numbers aren't actually correct anymore. So it's another great reason for why you should keep on top of your data and make sure you have accurate data. So we're just going to go back to the presentation now. No, we're not. We're going to go back to the portal, sorry. So you can see here that that query is now completed and that is available to download. So if I just download that here, you'll see that it just downloads to your local drive. And as I say, these are here for 30 days. You cannot be sitting waiting for it. We do have an email, which I will just show you, that comes out. I can just minimize. Right, sorry, there we go. It's caught up with you now. So this is an email that you will be sent to the registered email address on that account. It quotes the file name, so you can see the file name. So if you're running more than one file for different customers or different accounts or campaigns, you can see that they're ready, and that will send you an email as soon as it's available to download. So it's not something you have to sit around waiting for. So that's the demonstration over. We'll go back to the presentation now. Sorry, bear with me. Okay, so as you can see from that data, we were able to understand what percentage of mobile numbers were no longer active, which was over a quarter. We could understand how many are receptive or fans of messaging, which again, we go into more detail in our report if you want to read that. How many are the aggressors or unreceptive? So these are the people we would advise you to not send messages to. The factual information. So what operating systems, network are they on, etc., which people tend to use for if they're developing apps and they want to understand their audience's breakdown of who's on what operating system. And also, what's the propensity of consumers clicking through to your web pages from messages? So enabling you to understand how quickly they click through and when they click through, so you can understand whether that's something you're going to replicate or change. So that gives you a better understanding of your marketing campaigns. So that's it for today. We're now to questions, if anybody has any questions. Okay. Okay. Okay, I've got a question here. So this is from Steve. Does that mean 25% of my messages I send are a waste of money? Not necessarily for you, Steve, but on average we do see around 20% of our messages being sent to numbers that don't exist. So our recommendation would be that you have a look, query your data. We are doing an offer at the moment whereby we will query 10,000 numbers for free. So again, if that's something you're interested in, drop us an email at info@Dynemark and we can query those numbers for you. But basically, as I say, on average, around 20% to 30% of numbers are being delivered, being sent to messages, to phones, that can't be delivered. So yes, that's a waste of money. But for your specific numbers, obviously we can't be sure. We don't know how good your data is, but we can query it for you. But the plan is basically if everyone queries their data and understands their consumers and keeps on top of it, then you should be really only sending to people, A, where the message, the phone number exists, but B, taking it that second step is looking at the profiles and making sure you're only kind of communicating to those people who do want to engage and avoiding the people who are potentially aggressors or will cause complaints for your brand. So I don't think there's any more questions coming through. So thank you all for your time. As I say, please do go online and download our report or drop us an email. If it's something you would like a hard copy, we can pop one in the post to you. Thank you all for taking the time out today and hope to see you all next week for our filtering one. Thank you. Bye.